Yeah. I know you totally wanted to see me dance right then, didn't you? No, you didn't. Trust me, you did not. There are some things you cannot unsee. I'm just saying. Speaking of things you cannot unsee, I was watching TV the other day. I came across this show called Botched. Have any of you seen this show? Yeah, there's 30 minutes of your life you'll never get back right there. Because this show is about people who have plastic surgery, and not just any plastic surgery, I mean a lot of it, and it goes badly. And so they have to go see these two guys who are kind of the main guys in the show who fix all of the bad plastic surgery or the too much plastic surgery that happens to people. So they fix all the work that got botched. And so, I'm watching this show thinking, man, how in the world do you get that much stuff done to you and then have to have it all undone? It's tragic in some cases, watching the show. Now, I got to tell you right now, I don't have any judgment to make about people that get plastic surgery. If you want to get some, knock yourself out. I clearly have not had any, because this cannot be the final product. You know what I'm saying? But I was watching this show and I got to thinking, how much work should you get done on the outside anyway? Before maybe if you end up on that show, you got too much, right? How much work should you get done on the outside of you? And as I saw this show play out, you clearly know there's a line somewhere. There's probably shouldn't be a law against it, but there's a line somewhere that you probably shouldn't cross on getting work done on the outside of you. Just a little tip for you today. But then it made me start thinking, well, how much work then should I get done on the inside of me? And I got to thinking about my friend Carl. My friend Carl is a guy about my age. He and I are in this group together, and Carl's a healthy guy, golfs all the time, goes fishing, kind of an outdoor guy, and you'd look at him and think, man, this guy's in great shape. And he was going to the gym and trying to do that regularly, and he started having these weird pains, he said right up the center of his chest that felt like acid reflux or something like that. He said it was kind of strange, and he didn't think much of it, thought it would just go away, because he's a healthy guy. And he'd go to the gym and work out, and these pains would come back and would bother him for a while, so he'd kind of, take it easy and go home, come back again, try it all over again. And then one day he was at the gym and these pains started coming, they were a little bit worse, and then he threw up. Not like he was sick, to his stomach or anything, but just kind of in this weird way that made him wonder. And then he said every time he would exert himself beyond the normal, he said that would happen again. He would get these weird pains in his chest and he would throw up. And he said it was becoming enough of a pattern that it really, started to concern him. And then one day he had parked his car in the parking lot of his office, walked into his office, and in that short of a walk, he was so winded, and his pains came back, and he threw up. And the guys at the office said, you need to go get something looked at right now. And Carl said, I got a doctor's appointment in a couple of weeks. I'll just go wait till then. And they said, no, you need to go now. And they arranged for him to go down to the Mayo Clinic down in Phoenix. And you know what the diagnosis was, right? The doctors told him that 2 of his 3 main arteries in his heart were 90% blocked. And if he'd gone even a few days more, few weeks, who knows, that he would have had a heart attack so massive it would have killed him before he hit the floor. How much work do you think Carl wanted to have done on the inside of him? I don't imagine Carl went to his doctors and went, hey, just take a little off the top, just make it a little better than it used to be. Just make me look a little better or something like that. Carl was going, dude, whatever is wrong in there, anything you find, fix that. Even if you find stuff that you didn't think you were going to find, fix that too. Anything that is going wrong on the inside of me, fix it. And it made me wonder, how much work do I want done on the inside of me? Not just physically, but spiritually, in my heart, in who I really am. How much work do I want done on my insides? Because we all know that we've all got something, right? There's something in us that we don't want there. It's the reason that we say to people, hey, nobody's perfect. And what we mean is me. We mean I'm not perfect. We mean there's something going on inside that I wish wasn't there. That we have past hurts in our life or insecurities that come up. Maybe we still have that burn in us of unforgiveness when someone has done us wrong. We have anxieties and fears in our life, insecurity, stubbornness that comes up. Maybe it's just plain old pride in us that rears its ugly head at the worst moments and tries to puff us up all at the same time we put everybody else down. And we look at our life and we go, man, I wish that wasn't there. I mean, I wish I could just get over that. I need to get over that. And one of these days, I will get past that somewhere in my life. But for now, I'll just figure out a way to live with it. And we'll do what my friend Carl did. Just tell ourselves stories about what's going on that aren't true to help us feel better for the moment, but nothing really ever changes. And the problem that we have, though, is that we know what is on the inside of us eventually will show up on the outside. The things that are happening in here will eventually come out here. The insecurities that we have will show up in our relationships. The fears and the anxieties that we have will turn into the decisions that we make. The hurt that we have will eventually turn into anger and depression. The mess that's going on inside of us will eventually become the mess that's going on around us, unless we do something. And the question becomes then, how much work do I want to have done in here? Well, that's why in 3 weeks we're starting this series called Transformed. Because we know we all got something. And we're going to look at all these different areas of our life where God says, I can help you do something about that. And we thought as a staff here, what if we spent a significant amount of time this year allowing God to stick his hands into the clay of our life and begin to remake us from the inside out, actually transform us. Not just some behavioral reform, not just learn a few new habits or a few new life skills, but actually let God go into those places in our life, those things inside that are causing the mess on the outside, and really make us fundamentally different people, qualitatively different in our character, so that not only do we act differently on the outside, we are different in our heart. What if we spent a significant amount of time on that? What if we gave God time really to work on the inside of us? And so starting September 19th and 20th, we're going to do that, and we're going to dive in. But we also thought, man, if we're going to go on a journey like that, I mean, a journey that's that important for the quality of life that we live, then we've got to know where to begin and how to get ready for a journey like that. And for the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about ways in which we start to get our hearts ready for that kind of journey that God might take us on. And there's this great story in the New Testament. It's one of my favorite stories. It's in the book of Luke, where Luke begins to tell us this story of Jesus, where Jesus engaged with a guy who needed real transformation to come in his life. And it's in Luke chapter 18, and it goes like this. As Jesus approached Jericho, now he was walking down from Jerusalem down to Jericho, a blind beggar was sitting beside the road. Now, if you drive anywhere in Vegas these days, you have run into this scene, haven't you? Where you see somebody sitting by the road, asking for help from people around. Well, that's the scene Jesus ran into. Here's this guy, he's blind, he's begging, he's sitting by the road, asking people for help as they come by. And it says, when this beggar heard the noise of the crowd going past, he asked everybody, hey, what's happening? And they told him that Jesus, the Nazarene, was going by. Now, what you need to understand is in this culture, if you had any kind of deformity physically or any kind of dysfunction like this guy had, blindness or those kind of things, you were an outcast. Because what they assumed in this culture was if there was something wrong with you like that, it was because somebody in your family or maybe even you had sinned so bad and offended God so bad that God was visiting a curse on you by this kind of deformity or malady in your life. So you were outcast, you were unclean, you were shunned by everybody. I mean, it was a shameful thing for you to have this going wrong with you. That's why he had to be a beggar. His blindness was causing his begging. And the reason that he had to be a beggar was because nobody was going to hire you. I mean, you were literally an outcast from society because of these things. And that's what the condition this guy found himself in. So when he hears Jesus the Nazarene is coming by, this is what happens. He begins shouting, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. I mean, he's making a huge scene. The guy's going full on Jerry Maguire here, show me the mercy, right? He's screaming at the top of his lungs. And everybody in the crowd's going, dude, could you hold it down over there? I mean, we've got this important guy coming through. He can't be making a scene like this. But he screamed all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. That term, Son of David, was a Jewish person's way of expressing the person of the Messiah. This one who was prophesied that would come and save them all. And that's who this guy evidently thought Jesus was. It says, when Jesus heard this guy shouting, he stopped and ordered the man to be brought to him. And the man came near, and Jesus said to him, Jesus said the thing that nobody expected him to say. He asked the question that shocked everybody. He said this to this beggar, "What do you want me to do for you?" Now, the crowd must have been stunned. They're all going, that is not what you say to a beggar, okay? I mean, you say something like that to a beggar, you've got a house guest for the rest of the week, maybe a month. You say something like that, right? And the beggar was probably going, dude, that is not what you say to a beggar. Don't you understand beggar protocol and how this whole thing works, right? He said, let me explain it to you. Beggar protocol, you drive up, I get your attention with my sign, you roll down your window, I come over and ask you if you've got anything to spare, you give me some change, I go on my way, you go on yours. That's the way this transaction is supposed to work. You don't walk up to a beggar and say, what do you want me to do for you? You may get into a situation you do not want to be in. Normally, this beggar's thinking, just give me a little something. Just a little spare change. Just make my day a little better. Change my circumstances for the minute. Just help me out a little bit to have a little better quality of life in the moment. Help me get my superficial need met right now. Help me succeed at my job now of begging. But Jesus had something else in mind for this beggar. And he's always got something else in mind for us too. Something in the way that Jesus asked this guy this question must have made him think. You know, what Jesus is saying is, I could help you with your circumstances. I could help you with your needs. I could help you with all the stuff going on the outside of you. But if you want, I could also help you with what's really wrong with you. I could make your day better, but if you want, I could transform your whole life. What do you want me to do for you? How much work do you want to get done right now? You know, a few years ago, I found myself in a place where I was starting to have regular bouts of depression. I'm more than just the blues, you know, a couple, 3, 4 days, man, where I would just sink into this real dark, kind of muddy place of talking bad about myself, feeling bad about myself, feeling like I couldn't do anything right, all kinds of weird stuff. And then those every couple of month episodes started turning to about every month episode. And what I started realizing was that in the process of trying to succeed at what I was doing and get things done, get my job done, I started realizing that I didn't feel valued or loved unless I was succeeding or accomplishing things. That the way that I was proving my value and proving my worth was by what I did, by the success that I was having, by the things that I was accomplishing. And every time something would happen that would convince me that I wasn't competent enough, or I wasn't smart enough, or I wasn't doing enough, I would spiral into these bouts of depression because I was thinking that my success was where my value and worth was found. And the thing that I started realizing was I would begin asking Jesus to help me to be more successful, to help me to feel successful, to work so that other people would recognize that I was competent and good. And Jesus would help me be more successful. He'd help me get things done. He wanted to help me with those things. But there came a point when that wasn't good enough anymore, and I started realizing that something more needed to happen. And what I realized was that what Jesus really wanted for me, the work that he really wanted to do in my life, was to help me know that I was valued and loved no matter how much success I was or was not having. That he wanted to know that I was his dearly loved child, whether I succeeded at anything or anybody thought anything of me ever again. You see, I wanted him to help with what was going on the outside, and he said, I'd just rather transform your life. How much work do you want to do on the inside? And I had to wrestle with that question, what do I want Jesus to do for me? What do I really want him to do for me? Can I tell you the good news here, folks? Jesus comes to all of us and asks us the same question. He comes to all of us and says, what do you want me to do for you? How much work do you want to get done on the inside? And in that question, Jesus is telling us, I want to do something for you. I want to give something to you. I want to do something in your life that will radically change your life. And I know there's times that we look inside our life and we think, man, there is stuff in here that I don't think Jesus wants to mess with. that I think if I was really honest about what was going on in my life, that Jesus would probably want to do something to me, not something for me. That he would have some punishment in mind for me because of that. And isn't that what they thought about the beggar? That because you have that thing in your life, somehow you must be unacceptable to God. And yet that was the one that Jesus walks up to and says, what can I do for you? God has something in mind for all of us. And at some point, all of us have to wrestle with the question that the beggar wrestled with. And what do I want Jesus to really do for me? How much work do I really want to get done? And then when this beggar wrestled with this question, he finally said, okay. Lord, I'm blind. Yes, I'm hungry. Yes, I need food. Yes, I need help on the out, but I'm blind. And I just want to see. And you know what Jesus said? All right. Your faith has healed you. Transformed. Fix it all, this beggar said. Look, I don't want to just mess with the outside stuff anymore. Fix everything that's wrong with me. Put your hands onto the thing that is really broken in my life and fix that. And in that process, that beggar must have realized that if he was ever going to know that kind of transformation in his life, that he was going to have to own what was really wrong with him. He was going to have to admit what was really wrong with him in that moment, to be honest about what was really broken, what he was most ashamed of, what was really wrong, the one thing in his life that he could not change on his own. And we're no different. That if we want that kind of real transformation in our life, we are going to have to wrestle out this question: will I own my need for transformation, really? Will I be willing to own my need for real transformation to come to me? Not just Jesus fixing some new habits on the outside or learning some new life skills, but am I willing to own my need to really be transformed in my life? I call this the diaper check moment of life. And any of you parents here that have young kids right now that are still in diapers, or parents who remember the time when you had kids in diapers, or even grandparents that are coming back to now grandkids who are in diapers, you have to deal with that all over again, right? You know those diaper check moments. My wife and I had this rule when our kids were little: whoever was closest to the kid when their diaper was dirty had to change him. So the minute you smelled anything, you'd like try to navigate away from the kid so the other person, was the closest. Get the GPS out. Who's closer? Where it's you. Sorry. I remember those times sitting there around the living room, and, my wife would go, hey, I think, the kid needs to be changed. And I go, no, he doesn't. I don't smell anything. And then I try to navigate away from her, so when it got bad, she would have to, because I didn't want to have to do it. And then she'd go, you're going to have to look. Now, this is not a part of parenting that I had completely thought through, okay, when we decided to have kids. Because I realized in this moment, I'm going to have to go look for something that I do not want to find here. Because, you got to go and you got to pull the back of the diaper open and look down there and see if, and you got to do that whole number right there, right? You got to look for the thing that is causing all the stink in the house right at that moment. Am I really willing to look at my life and identify what stinks? Am I really willing to look in my heart and go, what is it that is stinking up my life and, frankly, other people's lives around me? And can I admit to myself that there actually is that thing that I would rather stay blind to, that I would rather not have to admit to, that is too painful even to look at, that I'm too disappointed with myself to admit to anybody else that that thing is really there, that I'm too embarrassed about to even have to say that I still struggle with that at this point in my life when I should be long past that kind of thing? Am I willing to look at what really stinks? And here's the thing, it's not just me looking at what I'm doing. It's why I'm doing it, right? It's not just that I'm angry. It's why I'm so angry. It's not just that I'm defensive. It's why I'm defensive. It's not that I struggle with insecurities. It's why I struggle with those insecurities and where they came from. It's not that I'm prideful, it's why I'm prideful. It's not that I have to be right all the time, it's why I have to be right all the time. It's not that I'm depressed, it's why I'm depressed. If we could easily say, well, I don't smell anything. No one's perfect. We'll just leave it. But if we do that, nothing ever gets changed, does it? A few weeks ago, we heard a gal named Sheila Heen speak at the Leadership Summit. And she's a consultant and an author. She's done some work, I think, at Harvard Business School. She wrote a book called Thanks for the Feedback. And at the Leadership Summit, she talked about how to receive feedback well, because receiving feedback is one of those areas in our life that we all struggle with, right? And she says the reason that we struggle getting feedback from other people is because feedback strikes us at the crosshairs of two human needs, two fundamental human needs that seem to be in conflict with one another. The one need is our need to learn and to grow, our need to move ahead, to make progress, to admit that everything I've got right now isn't everything I'm going to need, that I actually need to improve in some area of my life. And we need to learn and to grow. We feel that need in our life. But she says the other need that seems to be in conflict with that is our need to be accepted and loved just like I am right now. And we have that need to know that in spite of my failings, in spite of what I'm not, in spite of where I haven't learned and grown, that I'm actually loved and accepted right now. And the reason feedback is so hard to get from other people is because it strikes right at the crosshairs of those two needs. Because somebody is telling us, you need to learn and grow right now. And what goes off inside of me is, well, you must not love me and accept me just like I am right now. That's why feedback is so tough. And in those moments, we have to make a choice. Will I own my need for transformation? Will I be willing to say, I have something that needs to change? Or will I do what my friend Carl did? Ignore it, make up stories, and hope for the best. Can I just tell you, that almost killed my friend Carl. You see, the truth does hurt us at times. I mean, any time that the blinding light of truth is shined on us when we have been sitting in the dark for a long time, it hurts. It's tough to admit. But one of the quotes that Sheila had at the summit was this: there is no such thing as a pain-free learning process. I mean, if we want to make progress and think we're going to do it without having to face some painful things, we got another thing coming. There is no way to grow and make progress without going through some difficulty, and it begins with the difficulty of owning up to and admitting there is something deep in me that is causing the mess all around me, and at some point I've got to admit to that. Transformation only begins. The only starting point that there is for transformation is when we own our need to be transformed. And here's why that's true. Because you and I are 100% in charge of our own heart. We are 100% in charge of what's going on inside of us. Now, I realize in church that may sound a little weird because we usually stand up here and go, hey, we want God to be 100% in charge of our life. And we do. But what God has done is He has given us responsibility for our own heart. He gave us our life and He gave us our free will, and He said, you have the ability to do with it whatever you want. You are 100% in charge of your heart. We're not in control of everything that goes on around us, right? We're not in control of our circumstances. We're not in charge of the things that happen to us. We're not in control of our own kids. Don't tell them I said that, okay? But we know that we're not in control of the things that are going on around us, but we are 100% in control of what is happening in our heart. And you can have as much or as little work done as you want. And the reason oftentimes we choose not to is because, frankly, it's just more fun to blame you for what's going wrong with me than it is for me to take responsibility for it. It's more fun to say, you hurt me, so that's why I'm all messed up inside. You did this to me, so that's why I'm messed up inside. It's way more fun to say that than it is to own up to the fact that I could do something about what's going on inside of me. That just because something is all messed up out here doesn't mean that stuff has to be all messed up inside of here. I don't have to rent you space in my head and let you mess up what's going on the inside of me. But it's just way more fun to be mad at you than it is to own up to my responsibility. It's not a lot of fun to tell the it's all my fault story. It's way more fun to tell the it's all your fault story. In fact, as long as I'm telling the all your fault story, I can be as mad as I want to be, and we just said that's way more fun than me taking responsibility. See, being mad is just way safer than being vulnerable. It just is. But if we're going to take responsibility for what's happening in our life, we got to get past all of that stuff and realize that God has put us in charge of our own heart, that we can have as much or as little work done on the inside as we want. God has given us 100% control of what's happening in our heart. And then you know what he does? He invites us to give our heart and our life back to him. That's why Jesus asked this beggar, what do you want me to do for you? Instead of telling him, this is what I'm going to do to you. Because that's not the way God works. God shows up in our life realizing that he has given us charge over our heart. And then he asks, can I do something for you? What do you want me to do for you? How much work do you want to have done? And he invites us to take the heart that he has given us and give it back to him so that he can make it into what he wants it to be. The Apostle Paul tells us that this is true in the book of Romans, chapter 12. The Apostle Paul says, so dear brothers and sisters, because this is true, I plead with you, I am begging you to give your bodies to God. Everything that is in you, everything that is in your body, your mind, your soul, your heart, I'm pleading with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him, by saying, God, you're in charge of me, not me anymore. He says, don't copy the behaviors or the customs of this world. In other words, don't try to transform your life like the world tries to transform their life. Don't try to transform your life like everybody else is trying to change their life. But instead, let God transform you into a new person by changing the way that you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. What if this was the year? What if this was the time that we said, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to dig back through what is causing the mess in my life. And I'm going to admit that I got to own responsibility for that, but I'm going to give that to Jesus. And I'm going to give him permission to do whatever in me needs to be done so that I can quit making a mess on the outside since he's fixing what's wrong on the inside. I mean, how long were you planning to carry all that stuff around anyways? How long were you planning to take the insecurity with you into every relationship? Take the hurts of the past with you into every relationship in the future? How long were you planning to live with the pride, with the fears that you have? How long were you planning to hold on to that unforgiveness anyway? What if this is the time that we say, fix it all. Fix it all. I am blind and I just want to see. I think it's great for us to constantly be asking ourselves the question, what is my next step right now? I mean, if this is true, if God wants to do something for me, what is the step that I need to take right now? And let me suggest a couple steps for you. Number one, maybe you can just admit that there is that area that needs to be done. Look, don't even put a name on it, okay? Don't even say what it is. You don't have to say it. Don't tell anybody else. I'm just saying, take the step of saying, okay, there is that thing. There's something in me that really needs to be changed. I know what it is. I'm not going to try to unpack it all. I'm just going to admit to God, God, I got a blindness. There's something in me that I'm not seeing right. There's something in me that isn't the right thing. It's there, and I admit it. And then secondly, to just pray. And maybe you can pray a prayer like this: God, help me want transformation in my life. Because let's be honest, when stuff comes up like this, we don't want to mess with it, right? We just want to go, God, do I have to get that out and look at it again? Do I have to really see what stinks? I really have to do this? And we don't really want to. But maybe we can just pray, God, help me want to. Help me have a desire to start unpacking this in my life. Help me want you to work like this in my heart and fix what's wrong. I realize this is kind of the training wheels prayer, isn't it? But hey, sometimes you need training wheels. And if you need them, use them. Maybe that we just say to God, I'm not there yet, but help me want to be there to let you begin to transform me. You see, transformation is hard, no doubt. Listen, if it wasn't, we'd all done it already. But it's worth the process. It is worth the process. And there will come a time a year from now. In fact, just take yourself into your mind a year from now and look back on the year that you had just lived. Will you be glad that you decided to jump in and say, okay, God, let's get this figured out this year? That you get to the place a year from now and look back and go, I am so glad I was willing to at least dive in and admit and say, God, help me to want your transformation to come in my life. There's one more thing you can do, and it's what we've been challenging you with, and that's to take this card and to find your way into one of our life group connections so that you can get connected in a group. And let me tell you why. Because I really believe, and I think the Bible bears this out, that the best place for us to make significant moves of transformation in our life is around other people that help us to do that. And our life groups are meant to do two things. In fact, it's the two things that I mentioned earlier that we have a deep need for in our life. One, to have people around us that help us to grow and to change, and who say, we are all here together because we have a need to grow and change. But secondly, to be a group of people that stands around us and say, you know what, as much as we all need to grow and change, we will love and accept each other just like we are right now. And that's what our life groups are all about. And the reason we encourage you to get into them is because we all need people like that in our life that challenge us to grow and love us just like we are. And so we're encouraging you to take this. In fact, go ahead and grab this thing out of your program and take a look at it, because I want you to feel guilty about, no, I don't want you to feel guilty, I'm just kidding. But take a look at the card. All we need your name on here, put a good contact phone number and email address for you. We'll get back in touch with you this week to let you know how to get connected with the event. And then there's boxes there that tell you when these connecting events are. Just check one of those and show up. Kevin was telling you earlier, all you do is show up in a room, and I'll just give you this out. If there are weird people there that you don't connect with, go to another night, okay? Because it's meant to help us find people that we really do connect with, that can help us learn and grow and walk through this process of transformation together. We believe that the way to get the most out of this season of transformation in our life is to get together with others and let them walk through it with you. So take these cards, fill those things out, and we're going to turn them in. We're going to pass buckets here in just a second after we stand up, and we'll collect these up from you, okay? But take a step. A few years ago, as I was wrestling with all this stuff, this guy who is kind of a mentor in my life, I called him and said, ask me some good questions because I'm struggling. And this is what he said. He said, maybe you can pray a different kind of prayer during this season of your life. Maybe you can just pray a prayer like this: Heavenly Father, do something in me that I can't control or manage. Do some work in here that I can't control, that I can't mess up. You do something with me that you know needs to happen, but that I probably don't know needs to happen. You help me fix the stuff in me that I've tried to fix for so long and have been totally unsuccessful at it. God, do in me what I can't control or manage. And maybe during this season, we can just all start praying that prayer. God, I don't know what needs to happen. If I knew how to fix this, I would have done it. But God, you do something in me that really brings transformation to my life. Because the fact of the matter is, Jesus comes to all of us and says, I have something for you. I really have something for you. And all I need to know is how much work do you want to get done on the inside? All right? Let's stand together and let's pray right now. The guys are going to come with these buckets real quick. Just drop these cards in these buckets to get signed up for for our events. And let me just tell you, while we're doing this, I just want to tell you this too. When you guys give us your information about stuff like this, we hold that as a trust. And we don't sell your information to other people. We don't give it out to other groups. If you start getting spammed by Pastor Kevin, that is totally on him, okay? I just want you to know he might be a little weird like that, but we will not do that with your information. And we hold that as a trust as you give us that. So our database is off limits to other people that want to use it for stuff other than for us communicating with you opportunities to connect with God, okay? All right, while you're finishing that up, let's pray and let's ask God to help us with this. Father, we're so grateful to you for your love for us, that God, you don't see us as outcast. God, you don't see us as too messed up to touch, but that you come to us and show up in our life and you want to do stuff for us, that you want to help us with those things that are really wrong in our life. And Father, I pray that you'd help us to be brave about this, to be courageous enough to just be honest about where we are. God, help us in those times that we just kind of want to hide it and we just want to act like we're better than that, to just put all that away so that you can really begin work in our heart. And Father, give us grace in that. You know it's hard for us to do that. So just meet us in that, God, and help us to take the steps. They're going to put our heart into your hands so that we can know life as you intended for it to be. God, we thank you that you love us that way. God, we pray that you'd send us out of here just aware of your deep love for us. We pray it in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. God bless you guys. Have a great week.